Hey y'all. Ooh, come on into the room today. We in this piece. Let me see, make sure. It's funny because I don't have to use this bright of a light because it is bright outside still at 6 p.m. Y'all come up in the room. We about to do this thing today. How y'all doing today? I hope you're doing well. We are still in this I don't even want to say if it's an official series of self-care, but that's what we on. I decided, and I'm going to carry it all the way into I'm going to carry it all the way into July. So y'all rock with me. If y'all here, come and let me know you here. Say hi. Say what it do, boo. Y'all know I'm a little bit, special. And by special, actually a lot special, but an aspect that I'm gonna make sure that that we having fun. So just sharing it, and then we can get started because okay. All right, so I think I'm ready. Did I put this on? Oh, let me do that. Yep, and then, hey mom, how are you? Love you. Okay, y'all. Y'all see me? How was your day? First of all, how was your weekend? Did you do anything? Here we go. Nice for yourself, right? Y'all know I always talk about the self-care. I always say on a weekend, do something nice for yourself. And it's funny that we're in a self-care series. So it's hilarious because when you really think about the psychology of why somebody has to tell us to do something nice for ourselves, it's interesting, right? Don't get me wrong. People do things to serve themselves all the time. And I'm not sitting here to say that you never do things for yourself, but most times you're not intentional about it. And if you do it with the idea that you're doing too much, and you probably do it with a form of guilt, a form of the idea that if I'm doing this for me, I must be selfish, and that I could probably be putting that energy or money or time towards someone else or helping someone else. And you almost feel like you're not worthy of that investment. That's good. That's what I'm gonna use the word to. Investment. Because self-care is an investment in yourself. It is definitely, it's not for the idea to just give a warm and fuzzy feeling inside of you. It's probably also the reason why most men reject the idea of self-care. Oh, y'all, I'm gonna have to spend one whole day, maybe a week, on talking about why men are probably the worst at this. Not all, but sometimes at the idea that if I say something like self-care, if I go ahead and try to talk about that, that I'm not a protector and a provider. And then on the other hand, you might say men are better at it because they will go buy them some golf clubs and go golfing in the middle of a situation, but they might be doing it for a different reason. They might do it because, that's how I think. If I go golfing, I think, which I'm not completely mad at, right? So maybe they know how to do it a little bit more than us ladies, but either way it goes, it's not a gender thing. It's about the type of person you are, And the fact is, if we're not all like this, we all have some of it in us, right? And so it's a matter of looking into it and figuring out, if you're not like this, I bet you know somebody is, right? Whether it is your family member, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your coworker, a good friend. And so let's dig into this, right? Today, I don't know if you saw my topic, but oh yeah, I'm going to say again, if you guys can share this, it would be amazing, because again, sharing is, I hate to say this, sounds so corny, sharing is caring, but I just want to say it because you just don't know. You don't know who needs to hear this information. You don't know who this could help in like a deep, like seeded level. One of the things I've been trying to do in my life lately is plant seeds, right? You can't change anybody. That's not something you can do. That's not, it's not possible that you could change anyone. But I've really taken a liking into planting seeds, right? I can plant a seed, and if somebody waters it, if somebody puts soil on it, that seed can grow into something wonderful. And it might not, but it can, right? And the possibility is better than not doing anything, right? So I love to plant seeds, and believe it or not, you sharing a positive word or a meme or something like that is enough to really plant a seed in somebody's life. So that's why I say share. Anyway, so let's get into it. If you did not see what my topic was today, the topic is I prefer giving to others. And the reason I picked this topic, it was because when we often talk about this thing, you have a group of people that, I'm going to choose my words very wisely. You have a group of people that say, well, that's cool, self-care and everything, but I prefer giving to others. I'm a giver at heart. I like giving. There's nothing wrong with giving, especially if you, in church or something, I hear, say you can't beat God giving. And I 100% believe that, right? You can't beat God giving. However, I take fault, or not fault, I take offense, or my problem is when you use that statement in opposition to what you need more self-care. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that anything is wrong with you saying you're a giver. The problem is when you use the fact that you're a giver to be an excuse for you not practicing self-care. And so we're going to dive into, what is the psychology of a giver? Have you ever thought about that? What's the psychological profile of somebody that just, that's what they prefer to do? I like to give. I love to help people. I'm a giver. I'm somebody that will give the clothes off my back. I'm somebody that's going to serve the people that are around me. I'm somebody, we just talked about what was it, the week before last or something? We talked about caretakers. And the reality is, oftentimes when you fall into this category of a caretaker, you don't usually take care of yourself with the same vigor, right? And not only do you not take care of yourself with the same vigor, you make it all right. That's the problem. It's not so much that you don't do it, right? That can be fixed, because if you don't know, you don't know. Hey, Alicia girl. But what it comes down to more than that is, if you do know that you should be doing it and you make it okay not to do it because I'm a giver, you're going to see my air quotes up for a reason. So let's talk about the psychology of a giver. I thought that was really, really good. Hold on. Here is some words here. Is there such thing as that you can give too much? That's the first question that was asked, right? Is that possible, that you can be somebody and that being a giver is a bad thing? And the answer of that is really no. It's not that you can give too much. That's not the issue. The issue becomes then where you're giving to fulfill something. I'll say that again. The issue is when you're giving not to just be a generous person, but to fulfill something inside, right? I had this argument, or not argument, a discussion with someone not too long ago about when people volunteer at shelters and such, or when someone's going out, to help the homeless and they videotape it, right? And me and this person was talking about how if that's ethical, um, if it is self-serving, or is it possible that they're just trying to bring awareness and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And this conversation went on and on because we brought up all these different ideas. Hey, Auntie Cynthia, we brought all these different ideas to the table. And one of the things that came up that was kind of hidden in the conversation was, what if somebody was doing it for a self-serving reason for the people that need whatever they're giving? Why would that matter, right? That was something I heard, like, that came up. Like, if somebody's homeless and you're giving them some money or food and they really need that, even if you're doing it for a selfish reason, why would it matter? And then we dug into that too, right? Because really intention behind it matters. It really does. You've heard people say the spirit in what you give, it really matters. But I think it's way less conceptual than it is like people say that in theory, but I really think it really drives the motive, and it really says more about the person that's giving than what they're doing it for, right? And so when we talk about the psychology of a giver, it almost seems like it's just a great thing all around. But when we go deeper, you realize that sometimes you're giving to fill the void that you might have had, right? Maybe your story was that you didn't have a lot when you were younger, or you grew up and you guys didn't have a lot of money. So you said, whenever I get some money, I'm going to help people. And that's actually a great thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you're a giver because you like the feeling that it gives you when you give. And actually, there's nothing really wrong with that either. But maybe you're giving because you feel like if I give, people will know that I'm a nice person per se. And I guess there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a nice person. You could be a giver because I was taught that to be a giver is a good thing. These are attributes of somebody that's a nice person. Why am I talking like this? I'm talking like this is because we do a lot of things because we are told, or this is like kind of laid out what is the right thing to do, and we don't really know why we do them. Somebody put it to me like this. They said, everything that you're doing, when you're a child, you should question everything you're doing. And of course, the way some of us grew up, you cannot question what you're doing. It can be deemed as disrespectful. But I look at it like this. The reason they said that's how scientists work and inventors work and critical thinkers, is that they question everything. They don't accept anything as just because, right? They don't allow anybody to just say, hey, this is just how it is, and just keep going with it. They do the research. They ask the questions. They figure out if it's a better way, or if they're doing has merit, right? And while some people don't like the idea of that, the part of that I want you to take from that's good, is that we all should be inquisitive of nature. I know you kind of heard around the election last year, people say, educate yourself on the process. Don't just vote your party, right? I've heard that a lot. And I know we heard it a lot. This is a good example. Is because you can vote your interest, or what you think your interest is, by just going along with the crowd that you believe represents you. The reality is, if you're not fully educated, you don't know what you're doing, and you're not a fully informed voter. And you're not really sure about what your personal convictions are, right? I'm tying this in. So if I am not sure about why I do what I do, then I can at any point change them because I don't have anything behind it. So I do a lot of training at work. And one of the things I tell people, and even when I get trained, I'm also getting trained a lot. I tell people I don't retain anything that I'm not able to understand from a process. Okay. And so when I say that, I mean, you can tell me to do this, you got to do step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it might work and I might be able to do it, but I will not retain it unless I ask you, well, why are we doing step 1? Oh, okay, what does this step 1 do? Okay, when I do that, what does this do? Okay, so if I don't do it, what happens? I'm that type of question asker, right? I'm that type of person that needs to understand what gives it weight, what makes these steps. And it's probably because I was also into math. A lot of people despise showing their work. I appreciate it because through the process of doing the work, I can understand where something went wrong. I can check my work, and I can also look and see and be able to put it on paper. So it makes sense because once it's on paper, it's real, right? I can theorize in my mind all these times, but if I can't really back it up with something substantial, I can't go anywhere. So please catch me. I know I'm going around the mulberry bush, but I'm really not. I'm telling you something because I want you to get it. You got to know why you're doing it, because if you don't know why you're doing it, you have no real convictions, and therefore you won't stick to it in a hard time. It's easy to do the right thing when everything in life is going good. It's easy to do the right thing when you don't know what else to do. But when you're in one of these hard times in life, and if anything hits you in your heart and it challenges who you are, if you don't have a real reason why you do something, then you won't keep it. And so my whole point in saying that is, if you're somebody that is doing something that you were taught, that's great. But sometimes you should probably write down what you know that you do on the regular, or the attributes about you that you think are positive, and then say, well, why do I do these things? And the good part about it, at first I said, well, no, what if you question it? Aren't you scared that you're going to change your mind about these things? And the answer to that is that no, because if there's a good basis to it, then there's going to be something behind it. And once I learn there's something behind it, it's going to actually reinforce why I do it. Versus if it's something that has no real root to it or real anchor to it, I'll realize that I was just doing something because I was told to do it, and it might not serve me anymore. You guys get what I'm saying? I hope this is landing. I hope that you're hearing me. So when we talk about being a giver, to me, this is going to be a little bit what's the word I want to use? Controversial, what I'm about to say. To be a giver because it's a nice thing to do, to be a giver because it's a generous thing to do, I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough. If that's your reason for what you do, I don't think that you're going to do it when it gets hard. Hey, Kiana girl. And so I want us to understand why we do things. That's why knowing the psychology of a giver is important. And so, and I'll give you one other reason why it's important. It's important because if somebody hurts your feelings, or if you're giving to somebody and they say, they say something to make you really upset, you're going to start getting to a point where you're going to say, you know what? I don't want to give anymore, because look what happened when I gave there, or look what happened when I did that. And they don't appreciate this, and I'm not doing this. And I've even heard people say, I will match your energy. And I understand that that's coming from a hurt place. But when you don't really know why you're doing it, or when you're doing it because you're in the profile of the nice person, you won't stick to it. Yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. Y'all don't have to say it. Y'all, what the preacher say, y'all quiet. I'm preaching gooder than y'all shout, right? That's always funny when the pastor say that. I'm preaching good. I'm talking better than you're acknowledging. But this is helping me too. If you don't know why you're doing something, you won't stick to it when the times are hard. It's easy to do things out of habit. But like even last year when COVID came up, the reality is you don't even realize that you're doing something out of habit until it's completely disrupted. And then you have to really rebuild it. And sometimes I was just talking to somebody else, everybody's trying to rush back to normal, when if you didn't learn anything during this pandemic, you really will go back to an unfulfilled life if you didn't take time to really dissect why you did the things you did and figure out if it's some better way. Okay. And so when I talk about the psychology of a giver, I think everybody should give. Giving is amazing, but you got to know why you do it. What is your motivation behind giving? And these are the type of questions that help you grow. Okay. And again, anybody that's coming on just now, one of the things I said is there is nothing wrong with just saying I like to give. My issue with the psychologist, I'm saying, or I prefer giving to others, is that if that's what you prefer to do, it's fine. But if you're doing it and saying, well, I don't want to practice self-care because I prefer to give to others as though it has to be either or, then there's a problem. And you need to figure out why everybody else is okay to give to and you to serve in some way, because when you give this for a service besides you. I'll take it a step further. If you've ever found yourself when somebody tried to give you something, it was hard for you to receive it, then this is also especially for you. And I'm gonna tell myself it was me. I'm not gonna speak this was me so much. It made me uncomfortable when people did things for me. It made me I had to really dig into it. It was different for me. It hit a nerve. It hit a nerve that I didn't realize how deep the nerve went. And it made me very, very uncomfortable. And I had to figure out that it was something deeper than just me not wanting to take somebody buy me lunch. It's deeper than when I take somebody home, they want to give me gas money and I said no. It's deeper than when the bill comes for dinner and somebody pays it. And why, me being upset that I didn't get to pay it. What was deeper was that lingering feeling of anger that I had afterwards, that I don't believe I know now is not normal, right? It almost made me feel like I was losing it, because there's no reason I should get that upset or mad when somebody wants to do something for me. And so this is what I'm talking about. I'm speaking on the first, like, I know this. I'm not speaking something I don't know. I know this profile of a giver, right? And so here's a couple of reasons why I believe we give, right? And you guys put in the chat some of the reasons that you do it, right? I don't want to assume we all have our reasons for it or what you feel like your reasons are. So we give because we want to see people happy. We give because we have an excess and we feel like we can give. We have something extra to offer, whether it's time, whether it's support, whether it's energy, or something physical or like materialistic, like money or clothes or something like that. We give because we want to be a generous person. We can give because of a lot of reasons. When it becomes a problem, I believe, is when we're expecting to be appreciated for it. Hold on. Yeah, that's good. I like that here. You said, I want to consistently check my selfishness. That's why you give, because you want to consistently check your selfishness. Thank you for sharing that. And I will give seed to the sower. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that part. Yeah. And like I said, so many different reasons why we give. But I want us to tie it to, let's go back to when you were a child. Like, when you teach your children to give, what is your reasons behind it? And if you don't have reasons, how to say this? I want to get to a point where we really establish an anchor for it. The one thing I know that's a reason not to give is that we want to be appreciated if we do give. So let me explain that. I remember I got into a conversation with somebody about about doing something nice for someone. And I remember they said, well, it's rude if somebody doesn't say thank you after somebody does something nice. And I said, okay, I understand that. But then it went on to say, yeah, like it is completely rude if somebody doesn't, acknowledge it. And I looked and I say, okay, well, what if this person, didn't really think of it, and they're like, I want to take my stuff back. And that's where that's where the real reason behind why they gave was exposed. Hear me out. Yes, we all want to be appreciated. We all want to feel that somebody appreciates us. But when you give so you can get that feeling of appreciation, that is feeding something inside of you that person's not responsible for. Hear me, guys. Hear me. When you give with the desire, or I'll even go farther, there are some people that need to be acknowledged. If you give something, I need you to shower me with praises. I need you to acknowledge in front of other people that I did something for you. I need you to do this. When you find yourself there, that's when you're not really giving from the right place. Now, you might say, well, no, I've never done that. And it might feel bad to say out loud, but I want you to think about the last time you did something for somebody and they didn't say thank you. Did it send you off? Did you feel like taking back what you gave them? Did it make you feel like, I wish I didn't do that now? Let's remember about unconditional love. Unconditional love is just that. It does not have condition. It's easy to love somebody who is lovable, who does all the nice things to you and, loves you back. It's not easy to love someone that becomes difficult or sometimes hurtful or says things that are mean. But if it's unconditional love, you're still supposed to love them, right? Well, the same thing as far as a giver. When you give, there's supposed to be no expectation after you give. And yes, it's certain things like, these are rules to be polite. You should do this or that, whatever you want to say. But when you sit with the expectation of, I would have never done it if I did not think you would appreciate me, or if I would have never done it if you didn't give me my props, then where you was doing it from, the space you came from was wrong. Not sorry. It was wrong. Because like someone said, you're not a real giver unless you give without expecting anything in return. Meaning, I don't expect you to repay it. Heck, I don't even expect you to say thank you. You do, that's extra, but you don't have to. Let me help you out. Have y'all ever gave to somebody on like a GoFundMe? Okay, I have. And I've given to somebody on the GoFundMe, and it was like people were putting their name and how much they put on there. And I have no problem with that. If that's what you do, how you get down, that's fine. There is an option, because I remember saying I did not want to give at first because I did not want that. So there was an option where it says you can give an anonymous gift. And I was like, this is amazing. So I was able to do that. And so it helped me out. You know why that was such a big deal to me? Because if I'm doing it from the right place, you don't have to say thank you to me. If I'm doing it from the right place, you don't have to know it's me. Why do you think we talk about paying it forward so much stuff like that? Like if you in a car, I don't have to know who's in the car behind me to pay for it. They don't have to see my face to know that I did that for them. If I want to, there are people that go to like Walmart or Target and they pay off the layaway. Do you think that there's some famous people to do it you hear about later, but I'm sure at the time they didn't wait to talk to the people to do it. Sometimes they just go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to do this and we're just doing it to bless people. I don't need your applause to do something that I'm doing in my heart. Hear me. This is not an anti-giving movement I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that you gotta check why you do things. And guess what? We're human. So something can start off as pure and it can go somewhere different when we don't get the response we expected. And if there's a response that we expect, then there becomes a point where we need to figure out if why we did something changed. Or we got to figure out what's on the back of it. This is why I say question everything. Question everything. It used to bother me so much when my son used to do it when he was coming up, because I came from, the idea of, sometimes your parents say something out of respect, you just don't question it all the time. But at the end of the day, like, I had to respect his mind. I always tell him your mind is beautiful. You think of some things that, even though it frustrates me in the time, because sometimes I'm like battling with if it's a respect thing versus an inquisitive thing, but I really appreciate having the back and forth and being able to explain certain things to him. I've been talking to him about certain things since he was 3 and 5, and I appreciate being able to have that back and forth conversation. It's because at least I know how he's thinking. Even if I don't always like how he's thinking, I know what he's thinking because he articulates himself. So this is why we're having these conversations. When you start digging up why you do something, you'll see if it's rooted at all or if it might have been slightly perverted. And it's okay if it has. That's not saying you're a bad person. Now, let me be clear. If somebody gives and they want some type of appreciation, I'm not saying they're a bad person. I'm just saying that you have to think about that and clean that up a bit. Clean it up a bit. And I mean, we all been there. Listen, I've held the door for somebody and I walk past and they just didn't say nothing and didn't smile at me. And I'm like, well, I shouldn't have even held the door for that person. We've all been there. But then I thought about it and said, what I'm going to do? Wish I could go back and slam it in their face? I also wouldn't have done that. So what I need to do is realize is that if I'm doing it because I want to do it and not because they owe me anything. They didn't know I was going to hold the door open and they didn't ask me to do it. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to just do it without the expectation. And anything I get more than that is fine. So I hope y'all getting what I'm saying. This is just a piece of this. I kind of got really passionate about it because I hear this and I see this often and we don't know why we do a thing. And, it's easy for us to attach things that should have never been attached to it, right? Let's see. Tracy, you said you give because it feels good. And it's out of the abundance of my heart. I don't expect a return. I dislike the expectation put on that giving, but I accept that we are all wired differently. Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, and I appreciate that you're being so honest. Like, yeah, it does feel good. And that's something that we just have to realize what we do and why we do it, so we can check and see that hey, these are some real valid reasons. Or if it's not a valid reason, let's pluck it, right? I remember I would drill appreciation into my son's head. Appreciate this, appreciate that. Say thank you always. Say do this all the time. And I think one time he said something to me, and the average person, the average parent, especially the old school, would think it's disrespectful. But he said, Mom, I don't understand why I have to kind of, always go out of my way to say thank you when somebody's doing something that they were supposed to do. And I remember saying, that's selfish. What is the idea of that? Ooh, and then he just kept going, but it wasn't a disrespectful question, right? And he was just saying, I'm asking a question that this person has already got compensated for what they're doing. I mean, I get being appreciative, but I don't understand why it's disrespectful if I don't show praise to that person. And and as I was trying to correct him, because I felt like I raised him a certain way, I had to stop back and think about what he was talking about. And I started to realize that being kind and having an expectation for what you do are two different things. I was trying to teach him kindness. But what I wanted to make sure that it was two different things, besides the fact that they're doing something. Because what happened is that somebody was serving us and they did something and they waited for a thank you. And my son was so done with it, right? And he was like, "Why? How would they just sit here and wait for it?" You know? And I remember I was just like, "Well, you should say thank you." He was like, "I understand what you're saying, but why do I owe it to them?" And I said, I had to think about it. He don't owe it. And so the fact that they were not going to do their job, which they had already been previously compensated for. Also, I should tell you that there was automatic gratuity. So they were going to get the tip. Plus they get paid. Plus you're hired and this is what you're going to do. And they expected the customer to actually say thank you for something. While I was trying to teach them the lesson of being kind, you should say thank you when somebody does something for you. But the fact that they're not wanting to do it unless they know they're going to get it, then that was the part that was wrong. You get here? You guys see where I'm going here? Okay, so that's one piece of it. We have to be very, very, very careful about the need for applause, okay? The need for appreciation. If you're giving and you need that, that's a problem. There are some people that want to do things like they do it because of guilt, or they feel like if I don't do it, nobody will do it. Listen, baby, that is something I have been dealing with most of my life because, when you're in the place to help people, you want to help. But it becomes a thing when you start doing it out of obligation. It becomes a different thing, right? It goes into something different. It doesn't mean that you're doing it from a bad place. It just means that there might be some things that's on top of the reason why you did it that's not something that you should own or attach to it, right? I know you guys heard me talk about false burdens before, right? The idea, I know you guys, I think I said something to the extent of like, I can only own my actions. I can only own what I do, and I'm not responsible for someone else's actions. So it's hard for some people to understand that as much as you want to help, you're not really responsible, nor can you make somebody do something. And so although you might want to help, when you get to the position or in the space that you have to help, when you get into the position to the space to say that, well, I'm living a life that's good, and if I don't do this for this person, I'm a selfish person, then you really have to start checking that thing, right? I'm going into this because it's so important to understand the things that we attach to the things that we do, right? There's a psychology behind all of it. For me, that was something that I'm still dealing with sometimes, feeling like if it's something that needs to be done, I'm going to do it. It's nothing wrong with that piece of it a little bit, but the problem becomes when you put that burden on top of you, when you pile it on top of your pile. Like we all have a pile that we carry in life, but when you start putting other people's stuff on your pile, it weighs you down. And then now you have pains because you're carrying things that you were never meant to carry. Your frame, your body. Have you ever heard somebody like a doctor say that you have pain in your joints? You have pain in your feet. You have pain in your, like if you heavy chested as a woman, you have pain from your bra straps because it's trying to carry something that's too heavy for its frame. You have too much weight. It causes deteriorating issues with your joints, deteriorating issues with the blood flow. Your heart, when you're so overweight, your heart cannot handle trying to pump that blood all over. It's too much weight. Well, while I'm talking about that weight, I'm talking about false burdens and responsibilities. Sometimes we give because we have piled other people's stuff on top of us, and we feel like I'm a giver, so of course I'm going to give. And I've even heard people say, give to it hurts. And I don't agree with that. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. When I say that, let me be clear. Let me clarify. Anybody knows me, been on here long enough, I believe in God and I go to church. I believe in tithing. I believe in giving. I believe in sowing, all that stuff. But this is not about that. Why I'm telling that is that, I've heard people say give till it hurts. And I understand what the thought process behind it was, right? Give past your comfort level, right? Sometimes you think so small, you can't get past it if you don't do something different. And I agree there. But I think that we have to be super careful with the idea that when we are in our life doing something and it's not a principle attached to it, like even if you're giving till it hurts, if you're doing it for religious reasons or because you're doing it out of the principle of sowing, you still have to believe in that principle. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to get y'all to get. If you don't believe in something, you won't continue to do it. Back in the Bible, a lot of miracles were done in front of people that didn't believe God or believe Jesus. And so what happened is the miracles increased their faith because with the seeing, they now believe. And so that's why the miracles were necessary. Okay, so you ever heard people say, I don't believe it till I see it? It's the same idea where, people, you can say, I do this, and that, and people are like, I don't know, you gotta show me something first. The same, there's no faith for some people unless they see it. The same idea where if you're doing something and you're only doing it to see if the principle is going to ring true, then what happens if the principle doesn't ring true the way you thought it was going to ring? Y'all, I'm going somewhere with this. I hope y'all hearing me. What happens when you do it and it does not do what you thought it was going to do? I was this one place, somebody said, name your seed, right? Name your gift, the gift that you give, name it, meaning I'm giving this and I expect this from it. And my only issue with that is that what if you have a personal preference, but it doesn't align with what God has for you? And so what happens if you say, this is what I want, and this is what I gave this for, and then you don't get that? Do you now believe that God can't do it? Does it mean that God is not there? Does it mean God is not capable of it? Does it mean the principle is not true anymore? We have to be careful with understanding why we're doing the thing. Now, I'm not saying you have to understand every single thing. I'm saying that what your route to doing things is why it's important to know. I remember somebody saying you can't approach you can't approach a certain entity as though it's a genie, and I agree. It's not like I'm going to offer these prayers and offer this praise, and if I do this, I want this in return. Like that's not how it should work, right? I mean, we all need things at times, but that's the only reason you're doing it. You'll find out that it's going to get old quickly, right? If you don't have roots to it. Here's another thing. This is the when you get to the little uglier side. Wanting to be seen as a stronger, smarter, or wiser person. I too was guilty of this. I know. Y'all like, Derek Parrish, you a horrible person. I'm just gonna tell on me because see, sometimes we get this idea that we just don't do anything wrong, and you sit there and you will never fix you if you never look at you. And so I'm gonna give examples. I've done that before where I thought that my financial stewardship, my being frugal, me making sure I made the right money moves, I thought that made me smart. I thought it meant I was wiser. I thought it made me, I wouldn't use the word better, but I would say a better steward over my money. I did believe that. Versus somebody who ran all their credit cards up, versus somebody who had all these repos and, all these things that happen outside of things that's outside of their control, right? Sometimes things do happen that's outside of your control. But if I knew that people were just not good with their money, to me, I did think I was better in that area. I'm not going to say I sugarcoat it. And there are a lot of people that would agree with me. What's the problem? What I'm saying? I'm saying that sometimes I was giving to people who I cared about, but in the back of my head, I felt obligated to give because I was better with my money, a better steward. I was smarter about certain things, and sometimes it reinforced how good I was that they needed to borrow money from me. Now, we're not talking about just money. We're talking about all these different things. I'm giving you examples. I'm just giving you examples. And it took me so long to realize how bad that was. When you say it out loud, it's horrible, it's ugly. But man, I didn't understand that. I was just like, the truth is the truth. These are facts. What are you gonna do? You'll dispute facts? I was a better steward. I am a better steward. It's not so much that I wasn't stating the fact. It was the fact that when I gave, it reinforced an internal praise that I gave to myself. So it fed me. And I found this out because one of my therapists was saying that everything that you do feeds you in some kind of way. And I said, no, me giving somebody, something that when they messed up with their stuff, it did not, it's not feeding me in any way. And they said, no, it is. And I had to sit down and do the work. And I realized that. And I was like, oh my God. Wow. Not that was the reason why I initially did it, but after a while, I was doing it for that because I really didn't want to do it. Really. So that's what it came down to me. So what is the whole purpose of this conversation? When we talk about self-care and doing for yourself, and you want to talk about giving, let's talk about the reasons why you do it for real. And then why it's possible that you're giving in situations where you shouldn't. And also why you can give to others, but you can't even make an investment in yourself. How you can invest time and energy and money into others, but you cannot invest into yourself. You got to figure that out. And you don't have to know right now, but you have to admit it's an issue. So when you think you're being selfless, and when somebody offers you to, something, or if someone says they'll do something for you, or if someone says, hey, you should do this for yourself, and you say, oh, no, I'm just going to take this and help them out. You stop yourself and think about why you did that and see if there's anything else under that, because oftentimes there is. You don't just do things. There's a reason for everything. It's something, especially if you're doing something when it becomes toxic, right? Like, for example, I've given my rent money away to somebody who I knew was going to do bad with it. Meaning not bad, but they probably were going to squander it. Why did I do that? Well, I thought I was doing the right thing. I was being a good person. I was helping somebody in need. And I essentially not only didn't really help them because they didn't know what to do with the money properly, I also put myself in a situation. And it was all because I had no boundaries. And it's all because it was other things behind the reason that I did it that were feeding me, that I didn't deal with. So what happens when you don't deal with something? It just repeats over and over and over again. So when people say, oh, well, I'm just a giver, that's why I hate when people say, oh, good people or nice people will always, finish last. And I always reject that. That's not true. You didn't finish last because you're a nice person. You finished last because you lack boundaries. You finish last because you're doing things and you have other parts of you that are unfulfilled, and you're using this as a way to try to fulfill them. And you're always going to finish last because the weight that you put on what you do is too much. So I feel like we dug a little bit into the beginning of why we want to break up that. So the next time I hear somebody say that, when I say, hey, let me, hey, you need to do something for yourself. And you say, no, I just want to do something for somebody else. I prefer to give to others. Stop it. Stop it. That is not a good rebuttal. Because when you use that rebuttal, you are using it because there's something else under that you're not being honest about. And so even if I'm not going to say not being honest about it, it's just that you don't realize that that's what's happening. And so let's stop in 2021 doing things that we don't know why we're doing it. Not actually die. Like, you should almost be so reflective and so self-aware as that when you do something and you think about it for half more than a second, that you actually write it down and think about, like, why did I do that? And then and put the work into maybe why you might do it. Like, it's funny. Like, and I'm about to be done. I know I have a cat that just has 6 kittens, and it's so funny because I always joke and I kind of humanize my cats. And I was like, oh, there she goes. She got knocked up again, and she this and that. And I'm joking, and I say this stuff, and then I had to realize that yes, it's just a cat. But I realized some of the stuff I said was so ugly. And like, hear me, guys. I know y'all be like, oh God, here she go talking about her cats. That was so much more reflective of about how I felt in the past about, or how I feel in the current about that situation. So even though I'm talking about this cat, right? Talking about the cat, if a human being did what she did, do I feel the same way about her or him? If so, I'm judgmental. If so, I have a problem. This is why psychiatrists and stuff, they are able to talk to kids, and then if they look at how they talk to their dolls and things, or how they play. Play therapy is always important. How they draw, they look at the drawings. You know why? Because they oftentimes mimic what they see at home, right? So a lot of times they're sponges, so they're just taking in what's in their environment. You can learn a lot from what they take in about what they put out. And it's the same thing when it's adults. Oftentimes, you don't have to tell me a whole lot about you. You can start talking. You can start doing. And usually I can kind of start figuring it out, right? Because whether you believe it or not, you give a lot of nonverbal cues. You act in such a way that it is engraved in your whole life. It's tangled up, you know. And a lot of times, if there's some toxicity, it's going to spill out when you don't even want it to. And so that's when you can kind of say, okay, well, yeah, there's something more behind that. So the goal here today, what we're going to end with is never rebuttal getting a self-care plan with, I just prefer giving to others. It makes me more comfortable giving to others. I'm just a giver. It's kind of self-righteous. It's kind of self-serving, because it's a deeper issue. No, I don't want to say self-serving. Let me change that. It's false humility. Because you don't have to do something for yourself and it to be selfish. I'm tired of people saying that. I hate people saying, it's my time to be selfish now. Nope. I refuse that. Nope. Understand the definition of selfish. Maybe we'll get into that one day too. Understand the definition of selfish. No, it's not selfish for you to do something for yourself. Stop that thought process. 2021, let's put that to bed. It's not selfish to do something for yourself. I might put that on the shirt too. I just need us to know this stuff. I'm going to say this stuff until we believe it. It's not selfish to do something for yourself. It doesn't make you selfish. So stop saying that to people when they want to do something for you, or you want to do something for yourself. I prefer giving to others. I prefer that. No. Let's figure out the roots to why we do things. And when we figure that out, then we'll realize that it's another reason behind that. And then we'll be better to start to look at, and uncover. Because I bet you whatever reason that you say the giving part to is also the reason why you have a hard time accepting things. So this is our intro. Thursday, I think it's July 1st. Woo. Can y'all believe we're in the 7th month of the year? We are more than half of the year out. I cannot believe this year's moving so fast. I'm excited. I'm grateful. We're gonna officially be like dived into this series about self-care. So I'm gonna hit it every angle, because it's so much there. And I just feel like this is a worthy topic for us to really get into. And hopefully people are really absorbing and understanding how this can help them. I mean, if you really grasp this concept, it can really start to heal you in a lot of places that you didn't realize you were broken in. So I love you all. I'm so excited that you come and rock with me. If you just came on, I'm about to finish up so you can catch the replay, because I always post it. Please share it. It's not too late. You can comment. I ask people to post it here. The reasons why you give, like that's their assignment. Why do you give to people? Like what's your reasoning behind it? Because sometimes you don't know why you're doing it. You won't keep it, or you'll feel bad when you're not getting the response you want. So I love you all. Don't forget what I always say. You are enough. You are enough. And my new little phrase is, you're worth being fussed over. I swear you are. You really are. And you don't believe it yet, but that's okay. Just like you didn't believe that you were enough, because I believe it's some people that are starting to believe that you're enough. But if you did not believe, or you don't believe that you're worth being fussed over, you will in a minute. I'm gonna say it enough. You're gonna realize it. So have an amazing day. I'll see you Thursday. Have a good night. Hey, Crystal girl, I am amazing. I'm getting off of here, but catch the replay, girl. Sorry. I'm been on here for almost an hour. So I'm gonna get off of here now. I love you all, and I will talk with you later. I'll see you Thursday, 6 p.m. Same time. All right, bye.